Hey everyone, Dr. Kennard here with BigZebra.com and Glenn, the international man of mystery. We were just talking about whether or not South Africa is in the British Commonwealth, and then we were talking about the Dutch and the English having colonized South Africa. But that was like, wow, yeah, yeah. The Boer War is what kind of made South Africa 100%, 110% British, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, yeah, but there's, I moved away when it was still an apartheid. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah.
in '89. So it's, I didn't see, and apparently the country's not doing well. Like financially, it
Yeah.
takes time, but the problem is that, just like most African countries, and I hate to say it, it becomes very corrupt.
Well,
Um,
yeah. I mean, democracy is hard, and you just got to look at, this might come as a surprise to everyone, but even long-standing democracies don't do well at times. Looking at you, United States of America.
Oh, can I bring the Dutch back into the conversation? My
Sure.
Dutch friend Moon Medi and I were talking about things to do in Amsterdam, and I had
Oh,
the idea of going to the red light district and getting one of those red light rooms that are right on the street level,
oh yeah. I
and
see. Yeah, yeah.
just putting a donkey in one of those rooms and see what happens. See
I
if
don't
they
think
get
that's
you
any
gonna.
really,
clientele.
So I
trust
don't.
me, you really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
We know what will happen.
Well, but still, my morbid curiosity demands, we do such a thing.
Well, good luck. I think that probably goes. You see, the thing is, when you have a regulated economy,
Mm.
like you would have in the red light, like you have in the red light district in Amsterdam, there might be rules and regulations about that. Big zebra.
Could be, you know, but I
Yeah,
could just say I was, storing it there. I
yeah.
wasn't
Once again,
actually soliciting
this
customers.
is what is it? Midsummer. That movie, Midsummer, the horror movie. I don't know if anyone else has seen it. It's a
I
great
haven't,
movie.
but I heard good things.
So there is a scene. It takes place in Sweden, up in over past the Arctic Circle, and in one of the first scenes, I think, of the second act, the characters are walking into this small village, and there's a bear in a cage, in a very
Mm.
small cage too. And I go to my girlfriend. It's like, you know what? This is the first sign of trouble. The mistreatment of animals. This would be the sign. This is where I would start complaining. I would start knowing that this is something wrong. I'm sure the EU does not support putting a bear that size into a cage that small. And that's when I would say, goodbye, sir. I gotta
Mm.
leave. I don't care if I have to walk 300 miles. I'm gonna just, yeah. That would be the first sign of an issue for me, at least.
You could get around that by taking a bear cub and putting it into a large cage and then
I don't know.
waiting.
I do not know about the proper EU regulations for animal treatment, but if you're going to abuse an animal, there's a good chance you're going to abuse a people at some
Mm.
point,
Mm.
especially
Okay, you say you'd walk 300 miles, but would you walk 500 miles and walk 500 more?
I would in that Scottish accent. That's what I would do.
Ah,
I would
oh,
do
well
that.
done, sir. Well done.
Yeah. It's actually, talking about the Dutch again. It actually turns out that my mom's side of the family um, name is Winan, and so actually, her family came over pretty early here to North America, and they were one of the first colonists to be in New York, New Amsterdam. A little bit of trivia there, and of course they got into trouble. They got into trouble once they got here. The governor of Amsterdam were mistreating the natives, and
Mm.
so my forefather, he wrote a petition, had everyone sign, had a bunch of people sign it, and then sent it back to the motherland. And what did he get? He got kicked in the teeth for being a troublemaker.
Ouch.
Yeah, but good.
Yes, it turns out people in power don't like it when others say, hey, we don't like your behavior.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is true. Oh man. So I hope everyone's doing well today. I hope everyone's doing okay.
Yeah, it's all right. I start work at 2 o'clock this afternoon, so it's not bad. So
Oh, good. So what shift are you working? You just doing the 2 to
uh,
10?
2:30 to 11.
2:30 to 11, huh? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, we close at 8:30, and by the time people actually, by the time all the guests leave, it's like uh, it's like about 9, just before 9, and then it takes about 2 hours to clean. If we
Oh,
do quickly, we get out a little early. But yeah,
sure, sure.
Mm.
Alan was in the first show. He was on Facebook, and but he travels all over the place. I know Alan. Alan's a good guy, solid guy. Does a lot of work for the movement behind the scenes. That's what he does. Um, yeah, it's supposed to snow here later on today. By the way, I'm looking forward to that. Yay!
Mm.
We're not going to get anything like Canadian snow. We're getting like wussy, like 1 or 2 inches, if that.
Really?
well, we
Okay.
we
I thought
we,
you
we
guys
got we got a. Well, it doesn't usually Boston and New York get quite a bit, like, and
So,
pushing
you
all
know,
to Midwest.
the last time we really got hit was I think back in 2014,
Yeah,
2015. That was in the snowpocalypse.
Mm.
But it's been pretty reasonable here.
well,
Otherwise,
we've been really we've been really mild this winter. We had a cold snap a couple weeks ago that was like, for like 3 or 4 days, it was absolutely freezing, like -20 and stuff.
so that's
And
my
then
okay. So try to translate this for my stupid brain. Minus
I don't
20.
know Fahrenheit, so you're gonna have to look that up. -20 degrees centigrade.
Wow, it's like you're telling me like centigrade is like the legitimate measurement of temperature throughout the world, and that
Oh well,
if
it should be, because zero's freezing and 100 is boiling. What else do you need to know?
yeah, yeah, I know, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's
You make me feel so angry and ignorant. I feel like we should invade Canada now, Glenn.
Mm.
That's what I think.
oh
Yes.
there was that thing going around during the Trump years where we said, "Hey, quick, while Trump's president, let's run in and turn everything metric."
Oh, yeah. Oh, see, so blazing. Thank you, blazing. 20 Celsius, -20 Celsius is -4. That's pretty effing cold.
Mm.
It's -20. It was -22 this morning, I think. So that's -8 for you guys.
This
Yeah,
sounds
it's
miserable.
-22 right now.
You know, D Parks. Yeah, Canada should take over the U.S. whenever July 4th rolls around. Sure, I celebrate too. There's just another reason to have a couple of beers. But perhaps we would all be better off if the United States of America stayed in the crown for a little bit longer. Maybe.
There was jokes being made when Trump was in office about Canada putting up a wall to stop the
Oh, yeah.
U.S. from coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I just want to drill down a little bit. If we had lost the revolution, is that slavery would have ended a lot faster, because let's not forget Britain ended slavery sooner than we did, and they also paid people. They also had enough money to pay off slave owners in the Caribbean, so which helped them transition to a non-slave economy. So yeah, we would have probably no civil war,
mm.
a parliamentary style government, and no chief executive that has imperial powers. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the Civil
And
War.
you would also have the Queen on your bank, on your bills.
I'll take the Queen, and I'm no fan. I'm not a royalist. I'm not a monarchist, as we all know. But if it's a question between having a Queen on some of my money, on some of our money, and freaking mother effing Andrew Jackson, war criminal and genocider, I know that's not a real word, everyone, but I'm going to use it, genocider. Then if it's one of those two choices, I'm going to go with the Queen.
Right. The Queen looked rather hot when she was younger.
I've only seen a few pictures. I'm not. I don't have an in-depth knowledge of what she looked like when
Well,
during
right
the Blitz.
now, she looks like a warthog that was hit with a powder
Hey, hey, hey! We
like
can't shame people
makeup.
for how they look, especially
Oh,
if they
yes, you
aren't.
can.
Wow.
Why do you think I
Hey,
use this icon?
Oh, right, right, right.
Betty, I saw pictures of Betty White when she was younger. She was hard.
She was.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw this actually before coming on the show. I believe Martin Luther King and Anne Frank would be 93 years old if they were still alive.
Mm.
And so they would have been younger than Betty White. That's how old Betty White was. French is one of those languages I failed at learning. Deep parks. There's a whole bunch of, and that's because I'm just lazy. Learning a language, actually, there's a lot of effort to it, and it just doesn't come naturally for me. That's what I'll say about French and Latin. No, blazing. Now you're putting in math to the show.
Math for fun.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
Something that's off topic here, but
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead, man.
sick of getting news over my YouTube feed about upcoming Marvel movies and potential casting.
Well, that's Marvel's big business, man. Yeah. You're probably just going to get more of that, unfortunately. Well, the algorithm. I just want to say this about the YouTube algorithm, the Facebook algorithm. They just do make people stupider. A vast majority. For a small section of people, they. Yeah, I'm just going to say that the YouTube algorithm does make people more stupid.
Well, it makes me stupid because I keep watching these stupid Marvel casting videos that they recommend. And then I watch them and then they send me more.
Well, see, that's a positive feedback loop. What's up, Tillman? How are you doing, sir?
Negative feedback.
Good morning.
Now, I am intrigued about, because we were talking about working around your internet issues, and you were going to use a new computer or an old computer that may not be as junked up. How is that process going?
Well, that's why I'm a little bit late. The old computer still needs to be kind of updated a little bit more so I can be able to use it.
Cool. All right.
Are they making a Zebra
Seems-
Man movie, says the Blazing Wizard Pope. Yes, and it's going to be in black and white.
That's funny. I like that.
I don't know if it's funny, but I had to say it. It's one of those.
Yeah. Well, there's different levels of ha of chuckles.
Yes.
So whenever I would, when I was writing scripts, when I'm writing jokes and I share them with people, it's like, and they read, or short stories or whatever, or bits. And it's like, when they say, well, that was funny, it's like, well, was it laugh out loud funny? Was it ha in here funny? What kind of funny is it? And when I give feedback to other people's comedy, I will say that if I will volunteer I will laugh out loud. I laughed out loud in this moment or this situation when I read this. Yeah.
Well, I think my humor swings from extremely disgusting and bordering on depraved to dad jokes. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. I hear what you're saying. There's
you gotta have a balance in life. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me.
Sure. And that's the trick, isn't it? Trying to figure out what kind of joke you can say around what kind of people.
Yeah. Well, I'd say 50% of my jokes I know I'd get fired for if I said them at work, so I just don't say them.
Oh yeah, everything is. When I started in sales, it was smoke-filled rooms, cigars, and playing poker at sales conferences. And now people wouldn't even go to the hospitality suite because it's too risky. It's just, I won't go there. That way nothing can go wrong.
Interesting. When I'm at work, what I have learned, having been a manager, and also just I try to keep my humor to a bare minimum.
Mm.
A bare minimum. And so, what am I like at work? Pretty fucking boring. See, I just swore. Give myself a yellow card, Andy Hall. Yeah, I'm just boring, basically.
Well, so some guy I know said this. He goes, if we first off, if we used the language we used ourselves 20 years ago,
Yeah,
whether it be terminology, mostly terminology for certain groups of people,
yeah,
we'd be kicked off every social media site. We'd be probably fired from every job if we ever got out. And like you generally got to worry that if you ever became into the public eye, that and you were somehow become famous, that things would come out of the woodwork that would be bad for you, because but it's also context and time and stuff like that, like what was words that were acceptable 20, even 10 or even 15 years ago are not even close to being acceptable now.
Yeah, it's well, that's why it's so important to, because the culture does, I'm just going to say words that we already know. Intelligent people on the internet already know this, is that being plugged into the zeitgeist, being plugged into the culture, and knowing where it's moving. And this is so important for being skeptics too, is being agnostic, holding judgment back until you've gotten enough information and enough different points of view on a subject. And that's difficult. It's difficult an everyday person. It's in real life. It's really difficult online, where your first reaction is just to type and hit send. But yeah, it is a skeptic trait to be able to just kick back and just wait and to form an opinion.
Something that bothers me these days is there's sort of we have a constant sort of backlash. Something becomes politically incorrect, and then people complain about it, wokeness, anti-woke. But really, this conversation should be about how we could behave better as human beings.
Yeah.
And instead, it's about people. Well, over to you, Dr. Kennard, with that little gem.
Well, I was on a show the other day, and I mentioned it Robert Stanley's Right to Reason, and one of the conservative guests were talking about the issues with wokeness, and it's like, whenever you have someone complaining about cancel culture and wokeness, 9 out of 10 times they're conservative trying to derail a conversation about justice in the world. Right? It is just a way to trick effing liberals and progressives into stop doing the important work, right? To stop doing the important work about achieving social justice, and now playing defense on trying to justify your position. It's like, F you. As soon as someone starts bringing that up, it's like, this is a strategy, and it's a pity that so many progressives and liberals have become useful fools and doing the talking points of the right when they start complaining about wokeness and cancel culture.
Yeah. Well, you see, the thing is that the right always says that the left are always trying to cancel things, yet the right, the second that their little sensibilities are hurt in any way, they go after sponsors or stuff like that, with the Colin Kaepernick and Nike. Now we're going to burn our Nikes. Well, Nike's laughing at you because you've already spent money on them.
Yeah.
And we're especially laughing when you burn the sneakers while you're still wearing them, because that's just Darwin at work. But it's just that they bitch and complain about canceling, but yet they'll cancel anyone that doesn't agree with them as well. So they're just as bad. The rights are just as bad.
It doesn't matter whether you're talking about style, whether you're talking about any kind of authoritarian, right? This is a cheap trick, whether you're Donald J. Trump, whether you're Joseph Stalin, or that guy with a mustache in Germany in 1930s, 1940s. They will always accuse the other side of what they are doing, right? They will always accuse the other side of what they're doing. So they're the ones doing the canceling, but yet they have to distract people and say, no, it's not us who is doing this evil thing. It's really you. You're the one. It's ridiculous. And once again, it's so irritating when liberals and progressives fall for this cheap strategy.
Yeah. So, so yesterday at work, we had an anti-mask rally right outside our front door. Police were there, and yes,
And that's
we're to
when
the point now.
you and dropped your pants.
Please continue,
Well,
because
no.
I'm intrigued about this, Glenn. Go ahead.
What?
Okay, so I asked my manager. I go, if I walk outside and they call me a sheep, can I go? Bah? She goes, well, maybe, but it's not a good idea because you probably be with your staff, and it's not a good look. So, you know,
Yeah.
but it's what's the latest lockdown. I don't agree with. I just it's unnecessary. I think. Even though this new virus is spreading, it's also while it's more transmissible, it's also less it's less dangerous.
Yeah, you know,
Because and basically the person that discovered it in South Africa, the doctor, said this, but they listened to the first part, ignored the second part, and so our lovely premier, the brother of the crack addict, decided that it was a good idea to lock us down again. I think Ontario's had it's about 5 of them.
I just want to say so even though the death rates have gone down since the height, I'm just looking at this from the New York Times. I just Googled this. On January 14th, 2022, just a few days ago, everyone, there were 2,991 deaths here in the States from COVID-19. I'm going to throw that number out again. 2,991. The 7-day average is 1,923.
Half a 9/11. That's half a 9/11.
In a day.
You see you see the thing.
Day.
Yeah, you see the thing is with Canada, especially with Ontario, is we're such a large province. Like you can fit the United Kingdom in the corner of our province. A lot of the most people that live in the major cities. The rest of the province is very sparsely populated. So you don't necessarily, you could do strategic lockdowns in certain parts, maybe, but you don't need to lock down the whole fucking province when the people up north are not even having any sort of outbreaks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you know what?
And,
I mean, and those are very good points too. And I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a virologist. But, you know, once again, I look at the numbers and, you know, and we all know, and this is the frustrating part. And I know this is what you're all thinking, or possibly, is that, yes, Andy, there's 2,991 people dead on January 14th here in the States, but most of them were unvaccinated, right?
Yeah.
That's what, you know, and you know, that is true. And it's difficult to still have a good heart, to be humanistic in times like this. But I try to be mindful that is just a bunch of dead bodies, and a lot, and some of those bodies are innocent bystanders. They're just innocent people, you know, people who are immunocompromised and who can't get vaccinated, or in the wrong place at the wrong time.
The thing is, this it's been proven that this pandemic has cut across party lines, and that the majority of people that are dying, a lot of them, I don't know if it's a majority, but are Republican. And I personally am pissed. I look at the previous administration and all their echo chambers, being Fox, OAN, and Newsmax, as being partly responsible for those people being brainwashed into thinking that the vaccine is bad.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump towed that party line up until he lost the election. Then he said, "Screw it, I've got nothing to lose," and then said, "Hey, I'm vaccinated." And his own supporters booing him when he said, "I'm vaccinated."
Well, right. It's
Mm.
he made a political calculation, which first I just want to say about this statement, which for people who don't understand the maths,
Mm.
Blazing points it succinctly. It doesn't matter if Omicron only kills 1/10 of Delta when 1,000 times more people get it. Well said. Well said.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure what take we should have. Should we mock the anti-vaxxers? Should we show our contempt for them? Should we
Well,
try and get them into a huddle and sing kumbaya? I,
you,
I,
you know what
I
I've been doing with my small platform that I have is
mhm.
trying to mock, and this is the same thing that I do, the same strategy that I use for fundamentalists and for people in power, right? The or people with large platforms, people who are obviously grifters, people who should know better. Those are the people who I really target in terms of, it doesn't matter if you're just an everyday politician. It doesn't matter if you're a religious figure. It doesn't matter if you're an anti-vaxxer. The people who are in positions of power, those are the people I go after. And I don't feel bad about that at all.
Yeah. You see, the thing is, this is with the like I was saying, with the anti-vaxxers, they've been brainwashed into fearing something that is safe. Now,
Yeah.
now unfortunately, I don't know whether it was just they didn't have enough research to back it up to start with, but the ones that the makers of the vaccine originally said it was going to be, you'd have to get your 2 jabs and you'd be fine. But then it came, it's going to lose effectiveness, so you need to get a booster. And if I was an anti-vaxxer, I'd go, you see, it's not worth it.
There's just so many things I don't talk about in the first show that I get so angry about, Glenn. And thank you for mentioning this. The head of the CDC, I believe her name is Walensky. I'm just going to say the words. She should just be fired. My girlfriend has heard me just erupt in the fact with how much she irritates me, the head of the CDC, because she is basically incapable of communicating clearly and succinctly what needs to be done. And if you've seen her on TV, it is frustrating. In fact, there was discussions with her team about her taking communications classes and how to communicate to everyday people. And I have to tell you something. I have to effing tell you something. If you got to do that in that position, that means you shouldn't be in that position. That means you don't have the skill set during a freaking pandemic too. You have someone who's in charge of the CDC who doesn't know how to communicate. It's like you should just be like Lincoln during the Civil War. You have a general who isn't performing. You just get rid of them. You just fire them and get somebody else who can do the job. This is not the time for on-the-job freaking training. This isn't the time for on-the-job training, and it just frustrates me.
Is she an appointed position, or so who was she appointed by?
I would imagine the President of the United States. I believe the CDC is
but because Dr. Fauci's been around and has worked under tons of administrations. Was she appointed by this president or by a previous one, or?
I believe she's a Biden appointee.
Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Let me do a quick Googling there, but yeah. Director Rochelle P. Walensky. Yeah. And she was from Mass General Hospital too. The thing is, a lot of people, and I'm sure that we've seen this in our personal lives, some people just get promoted to the point that they're incompetent. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can do this job well, so we're going to assume that you can do this other job well, but you can't.
There's
that's
go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is like someone that's a great doctor is not necessarily going to be a great administrator. Because administration is a completely different kettle of fish.
It is. It's a different skill set.
Yeah.
I was going to say also, when you have people who they're doing whatever job, and then they suddenly find themselves in front of a camera, and they think they can speak extemporaneously, but suddenly they're looking into a camera that's as bright as the sun.
Yeah.
And they go, glow, 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 glow. and it's different. And there's nothing wrong. I prefer it when people speak extemporaneously. But if you're only going to get 2 minutes in front of this camera and address the nation, write it down word for word. Read it back to your subordinates.
Yeah.
Ask for input. Ask for rewrites.
Yeah.
And you think you don't need that with this brief little memo about masks, but
Yeah.
why not do it?
Blazing Wizard Pope.
Yeah.
How are you, Pope? The Pontiff.
Hey, there he is.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
All I got to say is what was just said. Thank God Donald Trump didn't do that, because he might have signed a coherent, and then people would have actually voted. More people would have voted for him.
Yeah.
Thank God that mental midget decided to shoot from the hip.
Yeah. Just referring back to speaking in front of people, it is a skill set. You listen to like Seth Andrews, right? Who I think all of us have heard. That man has developed his skill set over decades, and people just think, when you're good at something, people just assume it just came naturally. But no, it takes a lot of practice to be able to speak in front of a bunch of people and to be coherent.
Yes, I have a weird thing where I am more likely to bumble social elements in person. But if you ask me to do public speaking, I'm really great. So I always have to do wedding speeches. I'm usually the MC. I speak at funerals. And yet everyone else is better at social interaction than I am. So
there's a reason. And this is what I've noticed from my just cursory analysis, anecdotal stuff from having done comedy, is that when you're up on stage, it is a much more of a restricted kind of environment, right? You know your role, basically what you're there to do. And so for those of us who might be a little socially awkward, it's actually a place for us to shine and to express ourselves. So yeah, dude, I totally feel what you're saying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, in other news, Jenna Jason.
Oh, wait a minute. I think Blaze was going to say something. I think Blaze. What's up, Blaze?
I actually wanted to share something. That share button in the bottom next to Cam and Mike, is that to share my screen?
I believe it is. I think the share button is. I'm fairly incompetent about how. Tobin is shaking it, nodding his head.
Am I allowed to show you a graph of the COVID cases in Denmark?
I would appreciate that. Yes, please do.
Thank you. And let's see, share screen.
Here we go.
It should be like a tab, Chrome tab, or whatever you're using.
It may take a little while. I remember doing this once and it was a little wonky the first time.
Yeah. See, now I'm curious. Now I'm going to look it up too. Here it is. I think.
You can see my screen now.
I see it, brother. Let's see what's going on here.
Holy! This is the entire COVID outbreak in Denmark with the active cases in a curve or graph. You can see until December 2020, we had no more than 43,000 cases in a country with less than 6 million people. We've been having effective tracing of close contacts. We've had lockdowns and stuff all the way through. And then Omicron came. And now we're at 316,000 cases, active cases in Denmark. That shows you how transmissible Omicron is compared to the former variants. We have had the same lockdowns all the way through, and Omicron gives no fucks.
Wow. Wow.
We have nearly 90% of the population vaccinated.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's horrible. And imagine, something goes wrong and you need to go to the hospital, and it's filled up with all those people.
Yeah, I have an ear infection on the second month now because the medicine for it is no longer in stock and can't get delivered.
Oh man.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. Yeah.
But how many?
It's terrible.
At least with everyone, with so many people vaccinated, the amount of people dying is probably low, right?
Oh yeah, we only lose about 20 people a day, but it should be 0.
Yeah.
Tough stuff.
If the world had had Chinese level lockdowns from the get-go, there wouldn't ever have been an Omicron to begin with.
Yeah, it's there are yeah, you're right, you're spot on for that.
Well,
Blazing.
Canada was way too lenient with their locking the country down in terms of borders, locking the borders down right from the start, and that's what hurt us. If we'd actually done properly and closed the U.S.-Canadian border and said, okay, no one's coming in, okay, then no matter what, we would have shut it down. And the worst part is that it's spread because Italy was the first one that was severely infected in Europe, and instead of doing the right thing, that guy that makes Donald Trump look the guy that's Donald Trump with a posh accent did fuck all. He did fuck all, and
please watch the F words, please.
Okay, sorry.
The thing is, you can't blame a single country for it.
Yeah.
Everybody
I know you can't. But, yeah.
It's
when you,
hopefully a lesson for future epidemics.
Yeah. But if you see a country suffering from something, and they do something, then maybe think, oh, maybe I should do the opposite. Don't, because Boris Johnson's thing was basically we're gonna build herd immunity by people getting it.
Yeah.
No lockdowns, and he's an absolute moron. Like him and Donald Trump are I think separated at birth because they share the quarter of a brain that was, I think 3/4 are discarded during birth.
Yeah,
I've said it many times. It's like Dumb and Dumber rules.
Wait. What were you going to say, Blazing? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
It's like Dumb and Dumber rules the world.
Well, you're right about that. The world is run by C students, basically. Yeah.
No wonder Russia's taken over the world when you got Donald Trump and Boris Johnson as two of the biggest leaders in the world.
Mm. Wow. And also, would someone please, remind these guys that the Black Death went through Europe 3 times? That ask all the people who ever caught smallpox if herd immunity is a good idea by having everyone catch it. Jesus Christ.
I'm looking at New Zealand right now in terms of new cases. Their new cases for January 19th was 85, 7-day average is 64, and in terms of deaths, 0. 7-day average, 0.
Well, they did the right thing. They locked their borders down completely, and it's a lot easier to, frankly, lock the borders in New Zealand than it is Canada. Let's be honest.
It is, yeah.
Same thing with Australia. It's a lot easier when you're an island to say, "Screw you, you're not coming into our country."
Mm-hmm. and just to give everyone a perspective, New Zealand has a population of 4.8 million approximately. So, yeah. I mean, this is the thing also that looking at our responses, it's organizations find it very difficult to pivot when new situations come. It's a species wide. Our species. It's just new data comes in. It is difficult for us to respond to it in a timely manner. I guess that's a pleasant way of putting it.
Yeah, an ocean liner takes a long time to turn, and states are very much like that. For example, if you try to close a border, what about citizens of your country in transit? What about citizens of your country who are on a medical transport to come home? They have a stroke while in Florida. They're on a plane back to Montreal. It's complicated. It always is.
Yeah. Well, that's why the people that were coming back, anyone that was coming back as citizens should have been. I think there was mandatory isolation.
Yes.
But a lot of people broke that mandatory isolation because they just thought they were better than everybody, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I saw this British comedian Russell Howard. He was in Australia and he was doing a stand-up. And in his stand-up, he mixed in his video of him being in his hotel room that he was quarantined in for 2 weeks, and he was saying it's like, and it was just, it's pretty, like Australia and New Zealand did it right. If you come into the country, you're getting marched straight to that hotel. You're not leaving for 2 weeks, and you're not leaving unless you could show a proof that you're COVID negative.
I think it's a sign of a functioning government that Australia, and I'm not saying that Australia is perfect, but they got rid of who was it? The Djokovic, the tennis player who tried to sneak in.
Yeah.
To play to do the Grand Slam. They just sent him back. I mean, it took a while because it is a country of laws and not of men or not of people. So there was a proper procedure they had to go through, but they eventually evicted the guy because he's a danger to himself and to others.
Well, apparently they evicted him because he lied on his visa application saying that he hadn't got COVID.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
he stated that basically he had met all the criteria to enter the country. However, having contracted COVID is not a criteria to say that you're to enter the country. And then I wrote a bit about this too on one of my blogs. And then he's like, "Oh, well, my coach did that or my manager did that, and so it really isn't my fault, so I can stay, right?" And it's like, "No, dude, F you, get the hell out."
Yeah. Well, there was an NHL player that was suspended 20 games because he faked his vaccine card.
Yeah,
he used a fake vaccine card.
And if I were in charge of the NFL, I would have booted Aaron Rodgers. You're gone for the season, you lying fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What,
wrong word.
When you think about all, and I know that this is a logical fallacy here, a fault, equating one thing to another thing. But but it does frustrate me. I'll say that is that when you think about all the nonviolent drug offenders who ended up in jail, right? Who were just basically, I have like an ounce of marijuana on me. I have an ounce, and now I'm in jail. Yep, right, Tobin, right? And now you have these clowns who are faking their vaccination records. And they're not in jail. It's absurd. That's what it is. It's absurd.
Yeah, but just a little context. The same player has been accused of betting on games, and he's got into so much trouble over his career that he's like he's somehow going to get a job again. Which there was talk that Toronto wanted to sign him. I go, please don't. Like, he's just trouble wherever he goes.
Yeah. Well, that's the rule and not the exception, right? You see people in these radical movements, whether it was the IRA back in the day or whether it's the anti-vaxxers today. The people who have troublesome personality traits, and here's a little more circular reasoning here for all of you at home who are keeping track, typically get themselves into trouble. And they will gravitate towards movements where they can exercise trouble, right? So that's why you see, when we look at people in the Oath Keepers or the Proud Boys, people who stormed the Capitol, they're people who are living in their mama's basements, right? Yeah. They're people, the QAnon shaman living in his mom's basement, basically walking around the neighborhood as the QAnon shaman. Those are the people who are in these movements.
I thought he only went like that. He dressed like that when he went to the Capitol. He was like that before. No, he was like that before. And I remember reading about this and showing it on this show, is that he would walk around his neighborhood like that. Like, hey, how about you go down for a quart of milk? It's like, all right, gotta get my horns on or gotta get into my gear.
but this is normal. This is normal, once again, I remember having conversations with people back in the day, during, about the troubles in Northern Ireland. It's like, yeah, a lot of the people who just were, for better word, losers, were really gravitate into that kind of movement, into the IRA.
Yeah. Well, it's just, yeah, it's amazing when someone gets into trouble, they'll find ways to get into trouble. Like it's like that with when someone goes down a dark path, whether it be addiction or something, they'll gravitate towards trouble, just like abused women gravitate towards abusive men.
So D Parks just sent a message to our little Facebook chat group that anti-vax folk singer dies after intentionally catching COVID. D Parks, is this?
Actually, that was
Whoa.
it's really weird. She didn't want the vaccine and wanted to catch COVID because she felt that would be better. And now she's dead. She thought after she could catch COVID, she'd be able to run around everywhere and, like a tampon commercial, go swimming.
There is, I was listening to local affiliate of NPR, National Public Radio, and they had a doctor on from, I think it was from Mass General Hospital, and she was just taking questions, and one of the questions was at least, hey, is it like the chicken pox back in the day where we should just bring our kids to like get the chicken pox so that they'll become immune? And the doctor was like, oh no, you should not be doing that with COVID. You are, I'm going to paraphrase, you are going to F around and you're going to find out. Do not do this. just do the vaccine, follow the science. If you catch COVID, then you catch it. You probably won't die. But if you're unvaccinated, or even if you are vaccinated, you shouldn't go out and lick doorknobs. You shouldn't go out there and intentionally get COVID. Yeah.
That is sad. That is really sad. And she lived this out, like, for everybody to see. Like, she, posted it and stuff like that.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen the entire post yet because I just got the notification. We might cover it in the show tomorrow. I'm not sure, but we have seen time and time again, right, that anti-vaxxers are very proud about being anti-vaxxers. By and large, they will go out there and tell you and go on social media and share misinformation and their own thoughts, deeply held thoughts and beliefs, unscientific thoughts and beliefs about the virus.
I got to because I remember that it's that anti-vaxxing has always been down political lines, except it used to be the left. It used to be the Hollywood people that didn't want to get their kids the childhood vaccines, led by a Playboy model, because we all know she could be trusted with scientific information.
Yeah.
And then and yes, I do hold Oprah Winfrey 100%, at least partially responsible for that bullshit getting out, because she didn't call her on it on her show when she said it. But anyway, so now I got to give the right credit. They just do anti-vaxxing better than us.
Well, they do have
in a morbid, disgusting, in a morbid, like, sorry to say, death toll way. They do it better than us.
Well, they do have they're much more cliquey, right? Because let's face it, the people who were anti-vaxxing on the left, I think they were and I'm not sure, this is me just hypothesizing, is that I think that there are a smaller proportion of people on the left who are anti-science in general, right? But on the right, there are a lot of people. In fact, the backbone of the Republican Party, I still don't think you can be a serious candidate for the top office in the land to say that you believe in evolution, right? To say that publicly and own that. And so I think the anti-scientism was always bigger on the right.
Put it this way: I think you will get a gay transgender black president before you'll get an atheist president.
Well, that's an interesting question, right? I mean, well, out of the closet, because I'm sure we've had atheist presidents before. They just haven't told people about it because they want to stay in office, right? And they want to stay politically involved. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see when and if, but here's the thing too, right? It's important to get perspective for all of us. We're not, we're people of a certain age, right? So we've been able to see things change, at times quickly, right? Or it seems like it's quickly. Like for 1 minute, gay people couldn't get married, and then it seemed like, wow, now that has changed, like significantly changed around the country. There was a point that nowhere in the States was, marijuana legalized, right?
Yeah.
And now there are many states that have recreational marijuana. So things can change. And that's the reason why we have so much conflict. That's one of the reasons why we have so much conflict here in the States, is because we're either going to go one way or the other way. It's either like third world banana republic, or it's going to be Norway. And the right knows it. It's unfortunate that our liberal friends don't know this. It's unfortunate that everyday Democrats don't understand this. But it is one thing or the other, and this is why they're fighting so hard. They understand it. The other side understands this.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that what they're proposing is not socialism, because all these countries they point at that are socialist, they're not socialist. They're a capitalist country that have a regulated capitalism and and take care of their people. That is it. Yeah. And I've said it before, and I've even told you before, that the left is just so effing stupidly bad at branding.
Yeah.
Don't call it socialism. Call it regulated capitalism.
Well, there's a variety of ways that you can talk about this with friends, neighbors, associates. Is that what's wrong with putting a little bit of democracy in the workplace? What's wrong with protecting workers?
Yeah.
It's just
we have a term for it in English. It's roughly translated into a social safety net.
Yeah. And Canada has the same thing. We have socialized medicine. And you see, what a lot of people point at is that they go, and the US likes to hammer at this, because Canada, our healthcare system is not working right now. But that's not because it is a centralized single payer system. It has nothing to do with it. It's that every single government has been cutting healthcare, especially in Ontario, for going on 20 years. It has nothing to do with the form of health, how healthcare is provided. It's got to do with the funding of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why where I used to live, right opposite me was a hospital. Easily could have opened as a triage unit or as a ICU unit during this pandemic, and it's still closed.
Yeah.
And we've been cutting nurses, we've been cutting doctors for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
They've been. My mom was a nurse, and they were trying to get rid of the RNs and replace it with RPNs because RPNs were low paid.
Yeah.
But RPNs can't do as much as RNs, so you've got less nurses anyway, and now you've got these nurses that can't fulfill duties that the other ones that you fired could. So,
Yeah, well, just as you get less religious societies as a social safety net strengthens, you also get more religious. Let me say that again. You'll get less religious societies as a social safety net becomes stronger. You'll also get more religious societies generally as the social safety net phrase.
Yeah.
It works both ways. That's why it's important to, support the structures that you already have.
Yeah. You see, because like I said, the U.S. I don't think, unfortunately, will ever go to a single payer system because the right and the insurance company have brainwashed the people so much into believing that you're headed down a tyrannical socialist, which that's like, honestly, like I think that that next you're going to have Marjorie Taylor Greene telling her supporters that if you say socialism, 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 Dr. Anthony Fauci will end up behind you with a needle and he'll infect you with something.
Yeah.
Because it's that, and there's two words that because Marjorie Taylor Greene has got the brain capacity of a peanut, and that's an insult to a peanut. Okay, that all she has to say is, when she doesn't understand something, it's socialism or communism, and there's a lot she doesn't understand.
Yeah, well, this is true.
And that's all it takes. Is like, they don't understand. A lot of the people on the right, and the right is being taken over by the crazies, by the Louis Gohmerts, by the Matt Gaetz, by the Dan Crenshaws and the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and the Lauren Boeberts, that to the point of them, they're not smart. Well, no, most of them are not smart. You can look. I don't know how Louis Gohmert actually got a university degree, because the guy, when he talks, you go, excuse me, that is why your family tree doesn't branch. That is decades of inbreeding.
There are people who are legitimately stupid, right, and in positions of power, just because oftentimes being aggressive and mean works when you have in voting here, at least in the States. And also there are people who are obviously know the BS that they're spewing out, and they don't care because they're just making money, like Ben Shapiro, for an example. Smart guy, but he knows what he's doing. And what he's doing is raking in buckets of cash from ignorant. Same thing with Jordan Peterson, just raking in buckets of cash.
Yeah. Well, it's I can't stand Ben Shapiro because, like you say, he's a hypocrite.
Yeah, he knows better.
He claims to be, as far as I know, I don't know if I read something that maybe he's not an Orthodox Jew, but he wears his yarmulke every time he does the show to prove he's Jewish.
Yeah.
But then he hires Gina Carano as to his thing, after she compared the plight of the Republicans to the plight of the people in the ghettos.
Yeah.
So him owning the liberals is more important than his Judaism, which he likes to show every time he puts that yarmulke on.
Yeah.
So
hypocrisy is a badge of honor. On that happy note, I'm going to start closing down the show since we're already buffering and heading up to an hour. What do you guys? Anyone got anything going on? Anything? Tobin, how's the music scene going on over there?
I actually finished up one of the videos last night. I got little minor details to put together, and I'll be putting one out for everybody to listen to here real soon.
Awesome.
I have something I wanted to say.
Please.
If you're enjoying this show, this little community that we have here, if you're enjoying this show, share it on Facebook or go to one of the articles Mr. Hall writes on Only Sky. Share that on Twitter, something like that. Every little bit helps, and
I appreciate that.
Make a habit of it.
Yep, I appreciate it. Thanks, Big Zebra. Glenn, thanks for showing up, brother. Good to see you. Always. Blazing Wizard Pope, what an honor. Great talking with you.
Thank you.
Heck yeah.
Might even make it an annual event.
That's pretty nice. Take care, everyone. Same crazy thing tomorrow. Take care.
Hey,
later, guys.
Bye.
Shamala.